Yeah, you should go to, we got this project already. Can you go to week number 6, lab number 1? Over there, you will see something called calculate miles of trips. That's what we did last time. Okay, again, if you go to week number 6, lab number 1, and then there's a class we created that's called calculate miles of trips. Okay, that's what we had. If you go there, you will see this is what we got last time, right? We got a 2-dimensional array. Okay, that's the whole table. So now let's say this, as we discussed in the class. Oh, I think I started recording, right? Sorry, I forgot. I did. Okay, good. So now what we're gonna do is this. Since the positions of the cities are going to be fixed, we can say Chicago is going to be 0, 1, and 2, etc. Right? It's going to be fixed. Which means if I want to look up the distance between Chicago and Boston, it's basically going to 0 and 1. Because you can see the position of Boston is 1. Go to row number 0, go to column 1. Because strings are not really the indices for 2-dimensional array, it's the integers. So somehow in Java, we have to convert from strings into their corresponding integers. And that's easy. We can use if and out statements. I'll show you. Okay? That's kind of the big picture. Let me show you one more thing. Let's say if the user enters things like this. In Java, we have an array of size 3. 0, 1, and 2. Let me just call this cities array, which is string array. In this case, we have Chicago, and also we have Boston, and we have New York. However, the string values, as I said, they cannot be used as indices. What we should do is some extra work to somehow convert this into, I'll just say city positions for now. Okay, position. And then somehow I want to go over the array I'm having here. I want to say, if I say Chicago, I want to figure out what's the integer index it represents. In this case, that should be 0, right? And in this case, Boston here, it should be 1. And New York, it should be 2. Okay, that's kind of really the trick. Okay, that's something I'll show you. That's very easy to be done. You just got to do it properly. Once we have done this, we can now run the loop to actually go over the array here. For example, the first time we run the loop, we can simply say, we want to know what's the difference between row number 0, well, between the city at position 0 and the city at position 1. In this case, I can have the distance table here, and then I can go 0 and then 1. Remember the syntax for 2-dimensional array. I'm going to go to row number 0 here, and then column number 1, which means I'll get this number here. Right? That's kind of the big idea. Big picture. Any questions before I go on? Okay. Let's now start typing. I would like to declare constants for each position to be more readable code, rather than just 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Let's do that first. Let's say we have a first line over here. Can we do final constant, integer, Chicago, all capitals, 0. Okay, so let's do some copy and paste. Okay, we have 7 cities, so can you paste 6 times? So now we got 7. Let's change each one of them. The second one will be Boston, and the third one will be NY, and then Atlanta, and then we have Miami, and then we have Dallas, and then Houston. And then, of course, number will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So now, from this point onwards, we don't have to refer to these magical numbers anymore. We just refer to their constant name. Okay? You can put something here. Declare positions of cities as integer constants, so that we can refer to indices using constant names. Okay, something like that. That's what we should do. Okay, so now we got 7 constants. We also got a 7 by 7 distance table. Okay, that's what we got. So now we're gonna start coding. So we're gonna read from the user one by one the cities. Okay. So since we're gonna interact with the user, let's declare some scanner as usual. Scanner, and then yeah, scanner there. We say input. Input is assigned to new scanner system.in. Okay, and now we're going to ask the user how many cities are you going to include in your trip. System.out.println. How many cities in your trip? Okay, and then they're going to enter integer. So they're going to say integer. Let's say how many. It's assigned to input.next int. And because we're going to have input.next line very soon, so let's also put input.next line right away. Otherwise, we'll have trouble, as we know. Okay, so far so good. After this, for example, here you can see how many would be 3. That's why we create an array of 3. So we're going to create the array accordingly. Okay? So now we're going to create the array. So let's say we have a string array, one-dimensional, right? So the interesting bit about this example here is we have 2-dimensional array and 1-dimensional array, right? 1-dimensional array here, that will be string. Let's call that the trip we have, which would be new string. How many? Also, let's also initialize an array like this. Remember I said we somehow we're going to set up some integer array like this, right? Let's call that maybe city positions, something like that. I'll say integer array. I'll call that trip position. Okay. New string. Also how many? So they are of exactly the same size. Oh, sorry, integer. Oh, here's some comments for you. So each, okay, you can say trip position I can be from 0 up to how many minus 1, right? Stores the integer index in the distance table represented by the trip at position I, right? For example, you can see that trip position at position 0, which is 0. That 0 is the index represented by Chicago in the table here, right? 0. That's how the logic works. Okay, after this, we're going to basically do the following. Okay, let's run a loop. Let's make it simple to begin with. So we can say integer I is assigned to 0. Because we know how many cities are exactly in the trip, we can do exactly that many iterations. I less than how many, and then I plus plus. Okay, that's what we can do. And now each time we're going to ask the user to enter a city. We can say system.out.println. Enter a city. Okay. And then after that, we're going to read it. So we can say string city is assigned to input.next line. So far so good? We're just reading city names. So now we have 2 options as to how we want to create, how we want to set up the array over here. I'll show you one version first, and I'll show you the other version in just a moment. Let's say we want to figure out what's the corresponding index of this particular city right away. Okay, how do we do that? What we can do is this. We can do this. If, okay, figure out the
index, let's say distance table index of city. Okay, so now if city happens to be Chicago, in this case, the corresponding index should be Chicago, right? Because Chicago is a constant that we just declared, right? Chicago, you can see, that's what we define over here as 0. Okay? We should assign, so here's a critical point. We should assign the trip position at the same position here is assigned to this. Just make sure I understand this branch here before I go on. It's really important because the rest will be very similar to this. We're saying that the user enters a string value, but somehow I also try to set up a separate array over here to say if it's Chicago, I want to figure out it's actually 0 because 0 is the index of Chicago in the distance table, right? I'm just using an if and else to figure that out. Okay? So we have to figure out there are actually 7 possibilities. It can be Chicago, can be Boston, can be New York, can be other cities. So let's do that. Else if the city dot equals, so let's will be Boston. In this case, trip position I is assigned to Boston. Else if, I tell you what, let's do some copy and paste quickly. Okay, copy this one here. So far we got 2 cities covered. We need 5 more. Okay, can we just paste 5 times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We also have some else. Else simply means it's none of the 7 cities, which means that's an error. Okay? Else means the city does not exist in the distance table. We'll do error handling in just a moment. Let's make sure the normal cases work first. Okay, let's change them. We have Chicago, we have Boston, and the next one would be New York, NY. Okay, just save your typing, NY. And then here it should be NY. You see? That should correspond. After NY, we have Atlanta. Atlanta. After Atlanta, we have Miami. Miami here. Next, we have Dallas. Dallas. And then the next we have Houston. Oh, sorry. Okay, you got 7 cities covered, and also anything else that should be considered as an error. Okay, any questions before I move on? So somehow after this for loop here, we will be able to set up 2 arrays. We will be able to have the cities array, Chicago, Boston, New York. Also a separate array, which will contain the indices for Chicago, Boston, New York. Okay, that we just happen to be 0, 1, and 2. Okay. Okay, after this, we can now try to do some processing. Okay, let's try to do that. Now, how do we do that? After the loop, we want to figure out what's the distance. Let's declare some integer distance will be 0, total distance. And then we're going to run a for loop. For integer I is assigned to 0, I less than how many, I plus plus. So we basically are going to go over this integer array and use the value there to look up the table in the distance table here, right? That's what we're going to do. Okay. And we're going to start with, let me just tell you about the logic for the loop. Let's say that the array, let's say a little bit bigger. Let's say we have 7 cities. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. How many iterations do we actually need, right? For the very first iteration, we have index value I is equal to 0, and I plus 1 will be equal to 1, right? We want to figure out what's the distance between here and here. And for the second iteration, we're going to figure out what's the distance between
these two cities, right? So that'd be I is equal to 1, and then I plus 1 is equals 2, right? Just keep going. So what would be the last I we should do? Would that be 5 or 6? Should be 5, right? Because if you go 6, 6 plus 1 will be 7, which goes beyond the array. So this will be the last index. Okay? I equals 5, and then I plus 1 equals 6. Or to be more precise, I here is really city positions dot length minus 2. Right? This is minus 1. This is minus 2. Okay? So that's kind of the logic you need to keep in mind. Okay? It's really important. Okay, let's now try to do it. So that's why you should put how many minus 1 here. You got two options here. Either you can say I will only go until less than or equal to how many minus 2. That's okay, right? That's exactly the minus 2 you have here. You can also say strictly less than minus 1. Okay, you have equivalence. So what do we do for each one? So let's do some variable creation here. We can say the current city we talk about, let's call it source and destination. Okay? Let's say we're going to go from here to here. So this is called source, and the other one is called destination. For example, you can say from Chicago to Boston. Chicago is the source. Boston is destination. For Boston and New York, Boston now becomes the source, and New York becomes destination, right? Okay. Keep changing. So I can say source city is assigned to trip at position I. And then I can say string destination city is assigned to trip I plus 1. Okay. And then the next one would be also the position integer. The integer I just call it source is assigned to trip position at position I. I want you to compare these two lines. Can I just cut and put it here? Could you please pay attention to these two lines over here? We are using the same index I to look up two different arrays, right? When I is equal to 0, we say that Chicago is the source city, and this is the source index we are trying to find out using the same index because you got a corresponding position. Right? Okay, let's do also for the destination. So over here we can say integer destination is trip position at I plus 1. Okay. So once we get these four variables set up, the rest will be quite straightforward. So what about the current distance? Okay. How do we figure out, let's say, the distance between Chicago and Boston? Look up the table, right? The source will be this row. Destination will be the column. In this case, I'll go to 0 and 1. So 0 and 1. Okay? Let's do that in the program. What I can do over here is I can say the current distance I'm talking about is distance table source and destination. Notice that you can see source is an integer. Destination is also an integer. That's why we can do so. Okay? But we can do this simply because we created this separate array of integers. That's really the key to this solution. Okay, of course I need to give you the type. After this, we can say distance plus equal current distance. Okay, and now finally I can say system dot out dot print line. I can say this from. Now tell me something. If I say something like this, from source to destination current distance. Okay, you can type it first. Now I'll ask you if that's really correct or not. We'll try actually before you actually judge. So from source to destination, that should be the distance. Okay? We will be able to try it very soon.
Let me just type one more line, 2 more lines before we can try. Now, outside the loop, we can simply say system.out.println. We can say total distance of the trip is, we can say distance, right? That's something we have been accumulating over here. Here. Okay, and then we have outside that, we can also say, yeah, I think that'll be good. Okay, I can also system.out.println just to say terminates. You can say bye. Let's try this. There is a slight mistake I made, but it's not that severe, but it's very ugly. But we'll see how it turns out to be. Let's try. Launch the program. You'll see that how many cities in your trip. Let's do exactly that example there. 3. Let's say Chicago, Boston, and then NY. Can you see the output? From 0 to 1, 983. From 1 to 2, 214. The total distance seems to be okay. And what's wrong here? I'm printing out the source index, not the source city, right? So what I should have printed out to the user, they don't really care what the indices are. The indices are useful for our program to actually calculate the distance. But now we should print out Boston and Chicago instead. Okay, that's really the trick. Okay, let's go back to the program. Let's do the fix. Let's go back here, but I will just copy that line there, leave that into comments, okay? We should not print out to user the table indices. Okay, I'll just leave that comment to you, okay? Now, what should be the correct way of doing things? What we should do, that's why we actually also got source city and destination city, that's why, okay? That'll be very useful. Now do that, source city here, destination city. That will fix it. Let's try one more time. And now I'll show you how to do error handling. Launch the program. How many cities in your trip? 3, let's say. Chicago, Boston, and then NY. Oops, that's not good. That's definitely not good. There's got to be a mistake I made. Give me a moment. Did I actually save? Aha. What I should have done was I should have said, yes, I'll show you what the error is. Could you please just go by the previous loop? What I should have done is this. I should have done trip. Once I get a trip, once I get a city from the for loop, right? I should say trip at position I is assigned to city. That's the reason. Okay. So if you go back to where we had a for loop, right, over here, as soon as we say enter a city and the user enters a city, we want to store that string value into the trip array, but I forgot to do so. That's why. Okay. Let's go back and try one more time. How many cities in your trip? You can say 3 cities, and then Chicago, Boston, New York. Now it works. Any questions about this normal case here? I'll create another version to show you how you can do error handling. Okay, let's create another version here. Can we do some renaming here? Okay, can you click on the class name here and then right click? If you right click, you will see that there's something called refactor. Right? Now we'll do it again. Click on the class name, right click, and go to refactor. Go to rename. And I just want to say underscore v1, version 1. Version 1 without any error handling. Okay? Okay, just say continue and confirm. Okay, I want to create another one, another version. Okay, you can just copy the name over here. That'll be very convenient. So now, let's do this. Let's now go to this project here, and then right click and say new class. So calculate miles of trips, version 2. Okay, version 2, and say finish. Okay, we got version 2 here. Now I want you to go back to version 1 and do some copy. Okay, under version 1, can we just copy everything about the main method? From the main method here, everything until the end, until here. Okay, copy everything there. Go to edit, copy. Go to version 2. And over here, I can paste. Edit and paste. So far, just version 1. But I'll show you a slight extension to do error checking. In case if I enter any undefined city in the table, we should be able to report the errors, right? That'll be quite easy to do. The idea is over here. If the user somehow enters, for example, they first enter Toronto, for example. Somehow I would know that in the else branch, this Toronto does not exist. So I should store this Toronto somewhere to say, later on I can report that Toronto does not exist. I wish I store it. Because in the worst case, maybe all the cities in the user's input are wrong. Maybe. That's the worst case. So what we should do is just to create another array to store the data. So you shouldn't be afraid to create arrays when you need it, right? It's not really troublesome, it's convenience. So what we should do is this. We're going to create another array over here with exactly the same size like this, and then we can call it, for example, undefined cities. So every time when we have any undefined cities there, for example, Toronto, we're going to put Toronto here, for example. And then we have to also keep a counter to say how many undefined cities we have found so far. Because maybe some cities are wrong, some cities are okay, right? So we also need a counter here. Okay, that's one. Okay, let's see how we can do that in Java. So this kind of counter and array pattern will repeat very often. When we do the objects example next week, we also see this pattern again. Okay, so you really want to understand how the counter is updated. Okay, let me show you the extension here. What we should do is this. Now we're in version 2. What you should do is, you can see this is a for loop, right? We do something before the for loop. What we do is this. We have a Boolean variable. I'll show you this. Extension to do error handling. So these are the extensions over here. We're going to say Boolean, there is some city is invalid. That's initially just false. Okay. As soon as we find out any city that's undefined, we'll set it to true. Okay. And then we're gonna have another array which will store all the undefined cities. And in the worst case, all the cities might be undefined, right? Undefined cities is assigned to new string. And also it can be how many. It could be that all the cities are wrong. And after this, one more. We also need a counter. Integer number of undefined. Okay. You can say this counter has 2 purposes. Number 1, keep track of how many cities are undefined. And number 2, this is actually the most important point you should understand. Indicates the next position in undefined cities array over here to store. a new value. Okay, you can type that. So initially, this counter value here will be just 0. It's almost like you're pointing to this position here. So as soon as you get the very first undefined city, you will store it over here. After that, you'll move the pointer to the right by 1 position, right? Just by increment the value of the counter. You keep doing that. Okay, so these are the 1, 2, 3, 3 variables we need in order to do error handling. Okay. Let's see how we can do that. We're almost done. Okay, after this, we can do, just go to the else part. Okay. Can we go to the else part there? Okay, else part here. The city does not exist. So what do? Undefined cities at position number of course, if you want to shorten name, feel free to say it's called count, right? It's up to you. It's assigned to a city because the current city does not exist in one of the 7 we defined. Number of undefined cities. Okay, can we just go back a little bit? I just need to initialize that to be 0. Let's go back. After this, we have to update the counter to move it to the right. Move the counter to the right by 1 position. Okay, like that, 1 by 1 position. I can say number of undefined cities plus plus. After that, also I need to set the Boolean variable. Some cities invalid is assigned to be true, which means at least 1 city is undefined. Okay, that's how we set a Boolean variable. So these are how we update the variables. So now the rest of the logic goes like this. If there is any undefined city, we cannot do any calculation for sure. There's no distance defined between the undefined cities, right? So now there are two cases here. Either all the cities are defined, in which case we'll calculate like before. If there's any undefined city, we have to report errors. Okay, that's the logic. I'll write it down. If there is at least 1 undefined city entered by the user, then we have to report these undefined city without calculating the distances. Okay, that's kind of the 2 possibilities there. Okay, let's do it. That's why this Boolean variable is also very important, right? If that is true, that means we cannot do any calculation. If it is false, then we can go ahead and do whatever we did before. Okay. So if some city is invalid, let's do some brackets here. Otherwise, okay. So now let's make some comment here. If some city is invalid, you say report errors. Otherwise, you say do calculation as before, as in version 1. Okay, let's do some cut and paste. Okay, from here until here, you can see from where we declare distance to be 0, and then until we say total distance of trip, right? Can you just do edit and cut? I want to cut it and paste it into the else branch, right? Edit and paste. So which means we only execute this block of code when there are no undefined cities. Okay? So now let's do the error handling very quickly. How do we report the error? It's easy. We'll simply just go over this array over here. So let's say if there's only 1 undefined city, in which case the counter value will be 1, which means we go until
Let's do that here.
So you can say system.out.print error over here, and then let's run a for loop. For integer I is assigned to 0. Now, again, it's a very easy to make logical error. If you say I less than undefined cities dot length, I'll do that for now, okay? And I will show you why it is wrong. Plus plus. And then you can say system.out.println undefined cities at position I. And then we just do some comma, right? If we are not talking about the last position, if I is less than undefined cities -1, then we do some comma. System.out.print, comma and space. Finally, outside the for loop, we can say system.out.println to say these cities are undefined. Are undefined. The length. And print line. There is a logical error in this code, but I will fix that after we see the output to see why there's such a logical error. Let's try. Let's try the normal case first. How many cities? Let's say 3. Let's say Chicago, Boston, and New York. It still works in the normal case, but what about error handling case? Let me just do this. 3 cities, let's say Chicago, okay. Boston, fine. What about I say something that's undefined? Toronto. You see that? It says error, Toronto, now and now. That's simply because we should have only printed up to this point here. But somehow, since the upper bound of the loop counter is the whole length of the array, so that's a logical error. So always remember, when you want to go through this kind of array, you should only go up to the counter. That's really important. Okay. I'll fix that. Let's go back to version 2. And could you please also change this from print line to print? Okay, undefined city should be print, not rather than print line. So let me show you how the logical error should be fixed. Okay, so now, first of all, I say upper bound of I should not be this. So that's wrong. Okay, what should that be? It should be the separate counter we try to maintain. The number of undefined cities. That's why we need a separate counter for this, right? Another place we need to fix. Over here, we should also say that should be this -1. Yes. Okay, let's try. Okay, hopefully that works. How many cities? 3. Let's say Chicago, Boston, Toronto. Yeah, you can fix that. You know, if the only one undefined city, you can say is undefined, right? As opposed to are undefined. That's minor. But this version is working. Any questions about this example here? So you should study this carefully because now this will be covered in the lab test, right? You have 2 more weeks to study this. And next Tuesday, I will do the solution for the matrix manipulation. So please try to at least understand what the problem is. It's a challenging one, especially for multiplication. I'll try to explain on the board on Tuesday carefully so you can understand. Okay, if no question, why don't we take just 2 minutes break? You can organize your code, call the TA if you got any questions. In about 2 or 3 minutes, I'll start
going back to our objects exercise.